There's a new champion in the UFC, and her name is Kayla Harrison. She looked absolutely dominant against Julianna Pena, the former champion. She won by a Kimura submission, and now she's going to defend the title against recently retired Amanda Nunes. She's coming out of retirement. That's going to be a huge fight between those two ladies. Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, probably the greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time, decorated champion, one of the greatest of all time, going up against Kayla Harrison, who looked absolutely phenomenal this past weekend. But there is a new champion, and her name is Kayla Harrison. She is a beast, man. I mean, she looked absolutely phenomenal. Julianna Pena, I don't know. I think the last couple fights, it's been very disappointing from her. I just don't understand. Maybe, she didn't look confident in that fight against Kayla Harrison. Kayla, she's a big bantamweight. I think she needs to move up in the division, in my opinion, or they need to create another women's division, because if you saw the weight cut, all you mixed martial arts fans or combat sports fans, if you saw that weight cut from Kayla Harrison, it was brutal. I mean, it didn't even look like her, man. She did not look good. I'm not trying to be a bonehead or an idiot. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be a prick, but I mean, she did not look good at all. That weight cut was brutal. So the UFC, I think they need to look into that and create a new division, because Kayla Harrison is a beast, and she's way too big to be a bantamweight, in my opinion. But she looked phenomenal, won by submission. She looked great. And then, Julianna Pena, I don't know, where does she go from here? I think she has to work her way up. I guess she, I saw a report, or I saw an interview where she said she calls dibs on this next fight, the winner of Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison. Like, no, I think you need to start from the bottom and work your way up. I mean, you've had the title for a while now. You had that, back-to-back fights with Amanda Nunes, obviously winning one and then you losing the last time. And then you became champion by beating Raquel Pennington when Amanda Nunes retired, gave up the title. You held the championship, and now, I mean, you just didn't. I mean, it was not an impressive performance by Julianna Pena against Kayla Harrison. But Kayla, I mean, she looked great. So, new champion this weekend, UFC 316. We'll dive more into that in the show. But yeah, guys, time is back. It's Monday. Zach Rice here. I hope you guys had a great and safe weekend. I got my Detroit Tigers jersey on, Tarek Skubal specifically, because that guy's the best pitcher in the MLB right now. He's amazing. So we'll dive into the Tigers as well on this episode. But first, we got to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Stanley Cup playoffs tied at one game apiece. Florida, double overtime. They were able to split the series so far against the Edmonton Oilers. So it's tied 1-1. And I said it before, I mean, this looks like it's going to be an instant classic again. Like last year's matchup, I mean, that was a great Stanley Cup final, as I've said numerous times. It's getting old at this point. But, I mean, the first two games of this series, both going to overtime. Game 2 went into double overtime. I mean, that's what the Stanley Cup finals are all about. So, tied one game apiece between the Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Games 1 and 2, as I mentioned, they both went into overtime. Game 1, the Oilers win 4-3 in overtime. Leon Draisaitl, great hockey player. Of course, he's the hero because he scored the game winner, and then he got an assist from his buddy, his partner in crime, Connor McDavid, who I've said numerous times on the podcast, he's the best hockey player right now. Got an assist from him because not only does he get goals, he sets up the guys as well. He gets a lot of assists. So the 1-2 punch, the 1-2 combo from Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, that was actually Leon Draisaitl's second goal of the game for Game 1. So Leon Draisaitl, he was the hero for the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1. Now we got fast forward to Game 2, Friday night. Panthers win in double overtime, 5-4. So you see the scoring, right? 4-3 overtime in Game 1, 5-4 double overtime Game 2. I mean, it's pretty exciting. I mean, if you're not a hockey fan, I mean, you got to watch tonight. You got Game 3 in Florida, 8 p.m. TNT. I mean, this series looks pretty entertaining so far, but Florida's got to win. I mean, they have to win, at least one, probably maybe even two at home, right? You would think tied the series at 2, or go up 3-1 really in this situation. But yeah, tied 1-1 right now. and you got Game 3 tonight. So you have that going on. And then Brad Marchand, he was the hero for the Florida Panthers in Game 2. He got the game winner. That was his second breakaway goal in that game. I think that was the first time I read in some stat that first time ever in the Stanley Cup Finals history, a player got a breakaway goal in regulation and another breakaway goal in overtime. So Brad Marchand making history. Obviously, he's been at it for a very long time. A long time Boston Bruin. Yes, we know him here in Detroit, Michigan. That guy's he's a pain in the ass, but that he's a good player too. He does his job well, and he came up big for the Florida Panthers. Like, again, 2 goals in that game winner, just like Leon Draisaitl. He had 2 goals. He scores the game winner. So I'm seeing a common theme here between these two teams, the Panthers and the Oilers. So Brad Marchand, the hero for Game 2 for the Florida Panthers. And then I read something here. First time since 2014. I was a senior in high school when that happened. And also in 2014, the #1 hit song from 2014, Happy, by Pharrell Williams. Yeah, remember that song? Yeah, that was overplayed on the radio. Yeah, overplayed. I mean, a lot of emphasis on that word. Overplayed. That song was on every single damn day. It drove me nuts. But you know what? It was the soundtrack to my senior year because you heard it every single day on the damn radio. So that, and for the first time since 2014, games 1 and 2 has gone to overtime. So it's been 11 years since that's happened, but it's only the 6th time in NHL history, and this is all according to ESPN. 6 times for games 1 and 2 has only games 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals has gone to overtime. Hockey's been around for 100 years. 6 times games 1 and 2 have gone to overtime. Only 6. That's crazy. First time since 2014. Like I said, I was a senior in high school. Happy by Pharrell Williams was the soundtrack to my senior year in high school. So it's a long time since we've seen this. Lots of history being made. That's why the Stanley Cup Finals, they have the best format. And I've said it numerous times on the podcast. I mean, what's a better format, playoff format? The NBA? No. Even the NFL. And you guys know me. You've been following the show for a few years now, for 5 years. 5-year anniversary back in April 20th, 2020, by the way, was my first ever episode of Guys Time with the Bries. But yeah, you guys have been following me for 5 years. You know I'm a huge football guy. Huge football guy. I love my football. But they don't even cut it when it comes to playoffs. I mean, the NHL has it in the bag. MLB, forget about it. NHL, Stanley Cup Finals, Stanley Cup Playoffs. They have the best formats, the most exciting part of all the big 4 sports. They know what they're doing. So, but yeah, crazy stuff going on. So obviously, like I said, next game, Game 3 tonight, Monday night, 8 p.m. on TNT. Going to Florida now. So Florida trying to win back-to-back games there. Skinner and Bobrovsky. Stuart Skinner and Sergei Bobrovsky, both goaltenders for both teams. Skinner, obviously, for Edmonton, and Bobrovsky for Florida. 2 of the best in the business. They got to tighten up. I mean, like I said, 4-3 Game 1, overtime, 5-4, double overtime in Game 2. Like, they got to tighten up tonight. In Game 3, like, there has to be a new strategy. You can't allow all these goals going in. I get it. You got star power on both sides of the ice. I mean, you have Connor McDavid. You have Leon Draisaitl. I mean, Zach Hyman obviously is out. You have all these guys for the Edmonton Oilers. You got Brad Marchand. You got Alexander Barkov. Matthew Tkachuk for the Panthers. You have a lot of star power on the ice. I understand that. But goaltending is huge in these playoffs. I mean, they are a key part to the success of these teams. And these are the final 2. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. They have to tighten it up. Both teams, not just one. Both the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers, their goaltenders have to be on fire. They have to be these stars tonight in Game 3 in Florida. So they got to clean that up. Like I said, too many goals. It's exciting for us fans. We love to see goals, right? Especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. Both games 1 and 2 going into overtime. Who doesn't love that? But strategically, when you're talking about these teams, you're trying to win the cup. I mean, goaltending is huge. So they have to tighten up. Too many goals games 1 and 2. Maybe game 3, maybe both goaltenders, figure, hey, we got to stop allowing 4 or 5 goals. This is getting ridiculous. So hopefully maybe we'll see a change in the strategies from both teams. But yeah, they're allowing too many goals. They got to clean that up tonight. Corey Perry, old man Perry, 40 years old. He has 8 goals in the playoffs. And I think that's second best behind Leon Draisaitl, of course, because he's a goal-scoring machine. But yeah, 40 years old, Corey Perry. And I do believe he's competing in his 5th straight Stanley Cup final. I mean, he's been bounced around everywhere. I mean, he played for the Lightning at one point, the Canadiens, I do believe. Did he play for the Stars? I think he played for the Stars as well. I mean, he's been everywhere, and now he's heading up in Edmonton. He's trying to win another Stanley Cup because many, many, many years ago when he was a spring chicken, he won a Stanley Cup back in 2007 with the Anaheim Ducks, and that was the year they changed their logo, and obviously they haven't changed it since. Me, personally, I like the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. I grew up watching the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Obviously, the movies with Emilio Estevez, classic sports movie, but obviously you had the logo, a very iconic logo, and a logo that we still, resonate to this day. Like, we still remember that. It brings up great memories, lots of nostalgia. They need to bring it back, like, I think, permanently. I don't think it's going to happen, though. It is what it is. I mean, they have some variation of it now, but it's just like you can't beat the original Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. But anyway, yeah, sorry to get on a tangent there. I just love the Mighty Ducks logo. It's one of the best sports logos of all time, in my opinion. But Corey Perry won a Stanley Cup back in 2007 when he was a young spring chicken. He's 40 years old now, still playing in at a high level, which is crazy, especially in these Stanley Cup playoffs. So he's trying to prove a point. He wants another cup, probably before he retires. I think he's going to be done after this year, but who knows? Corey Perry he's that dude. He loves hockey. Another pain in the ass, just like Brad Marchand, but he's a good player. And he's been a very good player for a very long time. So 8 goals in the playoffs, 40 years old. That guy's amazing. Leon Draisaitl for the Edmonton Oilers. He leads the team with 10 goals. And then you got to go on the other side for the Florida Panthers. Sam Bennett. He leads the team with 13 goals in these playoffs, or in this postseason, rather. He's been absolutely phenomenal. It seems like every time he's on the ice, he's scoring a goal or he's getting an assist. He's a true asset to the Florida Panthers. But then guys like Sam Reinhart, he only has 4 goals these playoffs. And yeah, he was a little banged up this postseason, so I guess, he missed some time. He's not getting a lot of ice time as well. But, Sam Reinhart, last year, he led the league regular season in goals. Last year, right? Or a couple years ago. He was the league leader in goals. So for him to only have 4 in the playoffs, I mean, I get it. Like I said, he's battling injuries. He's doing the best he can. There's only so much he can control. But, I mean, another star player who's usually good, scoring a lot of goals, Matthew Tkachuk. He only has 5 goals in these playoffs. Alexander Barkov, the captain for the Florida Panthers, he only has 6. So, I mean, they're scoring goals, but not Sam Bennett level. 13 goals in the playoffs. Absolutely sick, disgusting, absolutely phenomenal. So, it's gonna be a very interesting game tonight. Game 3 in Florida, 8 p.m. TNT. Watch it, play some bets. Stanley Cup Finals, the best in the business. So Florida Panthers, the Edmonton Oilers, Game 3, tied 1 apiece. Who's gonna go up 2-1 tonight? Are we gonna see another overtime battle? I mean, first 2 games were. Why not make Game 3 an overtime? I mean, let's make it happen. I mean, everyone wants to see it. Stanley Cup playoffs, they're the best. We'll find out if Game 3 goes in overtime tonight. So check that one out. That's the Stanley Cup Finals. We got to hop over to baseball now. My Detroit Tigers are doing absolutely wonderful. They won 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs. Very good team. First in the NL Central. And the Detroit Tigers, 43-24. They're first in the AL Central. I mean, I read somewhere that they didn't win 40 games till like late July, August last year. But now it's the beginning of June, and they're already past 40-plus wins. I mean, Detroit Tigers, I don't know. They have the team, I do believe, to go all the way. And I get it's early, but you know what? I'm liking what I'm seeing. The pitching's been phenomenal. right? I mean, yeah, there's a couple games here and there where it's just like, okay, that wasn't the greatest. Our bats, for the most part, have been great. The other Saturday against the Chicago Cubs, we lost 6-1. I was watching that game. The bats just didn't come alive, and I get it, dude. There's 162 games. You're not going to be perfect every single time. I mean, let's be honest. We're not the Florida Marlins, and we're sure as hell not the Colorado Rockies. Those guys, oh my God. I read something a couple days ago. They have more shutouts or more sweeps. Like, they've been swept as a team. They've been swept more times than they've won games. They only won 9 games all year, and it's the beginning of June. The season started in April, so 2 months in, they only won 9 games. They've been swept 10 times as a team. So at least we're not the Colorado Rockies. We're actually doing pretty good. But obviously there's a couple games here where, okay, the bats didn't come alive. Our pitching wasn't the greatest. We gave up too many runs, too many errors. Guys can't get on base. Guys can't score runs. But that's very few and far between. For the most part, we're doing fantastic. I can't complain. The Detroit Tigers, I mean, they have a team that I do believe can go all the way. But obviously, you got, 90 plus more games to go, 80 plus more games to go. You got Baltimore tomorrow night. They got the day off today, the Tigers do. Winning 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs is absolutely phenomenal. Great to see that. A shutout. Yeah, a 4-0 shutout yesterday. Flaherty gets the win. He was phenomenal. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts against a high-powered offense in the Chicago Cubs. So that's really good on his part because he struggled earlier in the year. These past couple starts from Jack Flaherty, he's starting to pick it up a little bit, trying to find his groove, trying to find that confidence a little bit. So good for him. He was fantastic. And yeah, like I said, Tigers won yesterday. 4-0 shutout. Great to see that. Take 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, who are 40-25. As I mentioned, first place in the NL Central. We're first place in the AL Central. So that'll be a very, if that's a possible World Series matchup down the line, that'll be very interesting. But like I said, 80 plus, 90 plus more games. We got to stay healthy. Our pitching's got to be top notch. Our offense needs to stay hot. Kerry Carpenter looked absolutely fantastic yesterday, 3 for 4. Riley Green had 2 RBIs. He went 2 for 4. Spencer Torkelson, a lot of people still iffy on him because, he struggled very much, ever since he became a Tiger. He's been struggling quite a bit. He was hurt a few times in the past. But, this year, this is his coming out party, it seems like, because he went 2 for 4 yesterday, 2 RBIs. My uncle, shout out to Uncle Greg, he's not his biggest fan. He criticizes him a lot. I get it. Number 1 prospect from many years ago. It's like, where are you, dude? But right now, I think Spencer Torkelson, if he stays at it, he can be a huge asset to his team. But, I'm looking at the Tigers, I'm looking at the team right now. Riley Green came out of nowhere. He struggled earlier in the year. He's striking out a lot. He wasn't getting on base. But now, he's scoring in runs. He's getting RBIs. He's getting on base. So that's great to see. And then, Kerry Carpenter's been very consistent for us. Zach McKinstry's been doing really well. Javier Baez, yeah, he went 0 for 4 yesterday against his former team. Not the greatest, but you know what? He's not striking out a lot like he did when he first came to Detroit, 200 times a year. Like, I mean, bro, we're paying you all this money. Stop striking out. Get on base. Score some runs. Be the star player that we know you can be. He's not doing too bad right now. So, like I said, got to stay healthy. Lots of baseball to be played. But watching these Tigers play baseball, it's actually pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. It's good to be back watching baseball kind of on a full-time basis. There was a long time where I didn't watch a lot of baseball because all these rule changes and Tigers weren't the greatest. It was just it was a long game, but now you got the pitcher's clock, you got the hitter's clock. You start a guy on second base. You guys go in the extra innings. You're speeding up the game a little bit. I appreciate that. You got instant replay now. I appreciate that. But now we're at a point where, these umpires, like, are we going to replace these guys with robots to call balls and strikes? Because even in this series, and going against the Chicago Cubs. Like, I'm supposed to be defending the Detroit Tigers, right? I mean, I got the damn jersey on. Tarek Skubal, best in the business. But, I mean, I was watching, the games, the series this weekend with the Cubs. There was a lot of there was a lot of pitches that should have been balls. They were called strikes against the Chicago Cubs. We were getting favored. So, lots of controversy there. I'm sure the Cubs didn't appreciate it. The manager and one of the players got thrown out yesterday because of balls and strikes. I mean, it was horrible. And I think these umpires are getting a lot worse. I don't know why. Just with all the technology, you would think that, okay, maybe we should better ourselves as umpires. But, dude, I'm telling you, give it a couple years, man. You're going to have robots everywhere. All this AI crap everywhere. It's scary. Like, I don't trust this stuff. But, when human error is being committed more times than it should be, obviously, dude, we're all human. We make mistakes. But, I mean, it's just like, all right, dude, that ball is like in the dirt almost, and you call it a strike. Or it's up at his face, and you call it a strike. And I saw that in this series. I don't know if you guys did. But, yeah, there was a lot of pitches that were very questionable. Up high, the umpire's calling it a strike. Below his knees, he's calling it a strike. How? Like, the frame is knee up and, chest down. Like, that's the strike zone. Like, we're calling pitches, strikes when it's at the guy's nose or, right below his knee. Like, way inside, but we're going to call it a strike. So I noticed that in this series. I know it's been a problem for a while now, but, we'll see what happens with that. So the Detroit Tigers beating the not Chicago White Sox, the Chicago Cubs, the other Chicago team. 2 out of 3, great series. It's great to see. But yeah, Spencer Torkelson looks good, and Riley Green's picking up a little bit. Kerry Carpenter's been consistent. Like I said, Zach McKinstry, Javier Baez, not doing too bad. Our pitching's phenomenal right now. I mean, when you got the best in the business with Tarek Skubal, that gives you a lot of confidence as a team, as a ball club. So you got that. They're off today. Like I said, they got the Baltimore Orioles tomorrow in Baltimore for a 3-game series. So they're 26-38. They're 5th place in the AL East. I mean, obviously, you got the Yankees, who just dropped 2 out of 3 against their biggest rival, the Boston Red Sox. Sorry, Eric Bilecki. I know you're a huge Yankees fan, but yeah, what the hell happened? I mean, you got to beat the Red Sox. I mean, Yankees, Red Sox, one of the oldest rivalries in sports. Yankees got to beat the Red Sox, man. So I'm pretty sure my buddy Eric's not too happy about that, dropping 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox, because I think they're 4th place in the AL East right now, because the Yankees are 1st place, and then it's Tampa Bay behind them, and I think Toronto's in 3rd place. But Baltimore is 5th place, so not the greatest. They were pretty good last year. Kind of an off year this year. 26-38. Almost almost through June. Middle of June almost. 5th in the AL East, so we should win a couple games here. But it is baseball. It's a weird sport. Sawyer Gipson-Lawn, he gets the start for the Detroit Tigers. Last time we saw him was last week, June 4th, or a couple weeks ago. Wednesday, June 4th, against the Chicago White Sox. 3.2 innings pitch, 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 base on ball, and 3 strikeouts. So, I mean, not the greatest game, but, this guy's been out for like over a year. I mean, he missed most of 2024. He had Tommy John surgery, so for a lot of pitchers, you're going to be out for at least a year, at least. And then he injured his groin as well. He was pretty banged up last year, Sawyer Gipson-Lawn. So hopefully tomorrow night he comes out and he's ready to go. So you have that, and then obviously you got Casey Mize on the mound Wednesday night, and then the ace himself, Tarek Skubal, the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner. He's going to finish out that series Thursday night against the Baltimore Orioles. And then we got to come back home and face the Cincinnati Reds. They're a 500 team right now. So that'll be a very interesting series. And then we stay home to play the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 3-game series. And then we got to go on the road and play Tampa Bay towards the end of June. So Very interesting schedule for the Detroit Tigers, and it's going to be interesting for the rest of the season. Like I said, stay healthy. Pitching's got to stay consistent. Our bats got to fly. So, Detroit Tigers, bravo. Keep doing what you're doing. So, that is the Detroit Tigers. That's baseball. But like I said, sorry, Eric, that your Yankees dropped 2 out of the 3 games against the Boston Red Sox. It is what it is. You'll get your revenge, hopefully. But we'll see what happens with that. But now we got to hop over to UFC 316. Big fight night, Saturday night. It was pretty good. Like I said, I appreciated it a lot. I really did. If you guys saw my video, I gave it a B+. I thought it was a really good fight night. A lot of finishes, a lot of submission finishes. Rarely you see a submission. I mean, it happens every now and then, but there was 3 on the main card. So, I mean, it was cool. It was a good fight night. You know, I watched it at my uncle's house. We had a good time. It was great. So, through UFC 316, you had 2 championship fights on the line. Merab Dvalishvili, he retains the bantamweight title against Sean O'Malley. He submitted him in the 3rd round, like a Darce choke or upward downward choke, whatever they call it, but it was a nasty choke. Sean O'Malley had no choice but to tap out. So Merab, he retains the title. So looks like Corey Sandhagen, the Sandman himself, looks like he's in line for a title shot for the bantamweight title. We'll see what happens with that. As a result, Merab Dvalishvili is on a 13-fight winning streak, which is tied for 4th longest in UFC history. I mean, say what you want about his style. I mean, this guy is, he's a beast, and that's why he's the champion. You know, obviously he's not, he looked good in this fight. He looked entertaining, versus the last time he fought Sean O'Malley last September. It was an absolute snooze fest. But this time he actually looked pretty good, pretty entertaining for the most part. So, yeah, he's the champion. But yeah, early on in this fight, good exchanges early on between Merab and Sean O'Malley. I mean, they were trying to take each other's heads off, it seemed like. But then once Merab started to grapple with Sean O'Malley, O'Malley had no defense for that. He had no answer for that. And excuse me. Yeah, it just felt like, deja vu over again. Once Merab grabs you, O'Malley had no defense. He had no answer for it. But yeah, it was pretty much game over once Merab started grappling. But yeah, early on, there was a couple good exchanges between these 2 guys. Like I said, they were trying to take each other's heads off. It was pretty good. It was pretty funny to see that. So you had that going on. Like I said, Corey Sandhagen looks like he's in line for a title shot. He just got done beating Davison Figueiredo a couple weeks ago, or almost a month, or just a month ago, which is crazy because that was a fight night I wanted to actually watch. I think there's something else going on. Oh yeah, that's right. I was watching those boring-ass boxing fights. Canelo Alvarez and William Skull, that was a snooze fest. And then you had the previous night, you had Ryan Garcia and the Devin Haney fights. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I should have just watched this fight night instead. But it is what it is. But yeah, it looks like he's Corey Sandhagen, the Sandman. Looks like he's in line for a title shot. That would be interesting because I like Corey Sandhagen. He's a good fighter. He's entertaining. But Merab Dvalishvili, who's going to stop this guy? 13-fight winning streak. Great resume. He's beating Jose Aldo, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley twice, Umar Nurmagomedov, who's a top-ranked bantamweight. So Merab's resume is very impressive. Corey Sandhagen, he's hungry. So that'll be a very interesting fight if it does happen. I'm not a matchmaker. I'm not Dana White, but I think the fans would like to see that. So that was the main event. Good fight overall. Nice finish, submission finish from Merab Dvalishvili. Sean O'Malley, I don't know where he goes from here. He's got the star power, right? But he's got to work his way up. You lost. You lost your title to him. You had a chance to get it back Saturday night. You didn't do it. You got submitted. So maybe you got to start from the bottom, work your way up again. But we'll see what happens with that. The co-main event, the women's bantamweight championship on the line. You had Kayla Harrison, absolute dominance, pure domination. I love saying that phrase because it's true in this situation. Pure domination by Kayla Harrison, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. So she's a legit badass. she defeated Juliana Pena. I mean, dominant fashion. I think Juliana Pena only had a couple of significant strikes, those illegal kicks to the face. And, I was I was trying to understand why they were illegal, but then it was just like, oh, that's right, because Kayla Harrison was a grounded opponent and her knees were on the ground. I thought she was standing up, but, her lower body is, I mean, she has a huge, big lower body. Her legs are bigger than my head, and I have a big ass head, as you can see. Kayla Harrison is just a different animal, but yeah, her knees were on the ground, and Juliana Pena kicked her a couple times, so she actually got a point deduction for that, and maybe that was the tide that turned for this fight for Kayla Harrison. But yeah, Kayla Harrison, she's the new women's bantamweight champion, dominant fashion, 3-0 in her UFC career, so she's undefeated in the UFC. She's on a 4-fight winning streak as a result. But then you got to go to Juliana Pena, and, this is, she's lost, obviously she became champion against Raquel Pennington. This is your first title defense, and you got absolutely dominated by, in my opinion, a much more superior fighter in Kayla Harrison. But, you lost to Amanda Nunes in the rematch. It's just like, Juliana Pena, good fighter. I mean, there's no denying that. But, when you talk all that trash and you can't back it up, it's not a good look for you. And I think now she's got to humble herself a little bit. She's got to go back down, work her way up. Kind of like Sean O'Malley, right? I don't know. She's called, I said earlier in the podcast, read something that, I called dibs on this next fight. The winner of Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes. We'll get to that in a couple seconds. She's already calling dibs. You have a 13-6 record. You've only won a couple fights past couple years. This was your first title defense as champion, and you lose to Kayla Harrison. I mean, you had to beat her, and you got absolutely torched. You got annihilated in this fight. So Juliana Pena needs to humble herself a little bit, in my opinion. Start from the bottom, work her way up, and then maybe get a couple wins here and there, dominant fashion, maybe a submission finish or a knockout finish, and maybe you're in the title circle again. But right now, that's not where the UFC is going, so she's got to humble herself a little bit. But yeah, she got dominated most of this fight. I think any combat sports fan can agree with me on that. She wasn't landing many punches or many kicks, nothing, many shots at all. Like I said, the only shots she got in that were, I guess, quote unquote, significant were the illegal kicks to the face. And that was pretty much it. And then, like I said, point deduction, it was a legal kick because, obviously Kayla Harrison was on her knees, grounded opponent. Yeah, okay, you sick mind freaks. It's mixed martial arts. Okay, she's on her knees. Yeah, come on now. Come on, this is a family show, right? But, yeah, she got kicked. Obviously, she was a grounded opponent at that point. But, yeah, 1-point deduction. So that referee, no nonsense. I mean, he was all business about that because usually they get a warning about that. But, New Jersey and the State Athletic Commission over there, they got some weird rules there. So, I don't know. Maybe get away from New Jersey. I get it. It's right next to New York, big market, right? But maybe go to Vegas. I mean, this is where UFC kind of populated or got popular in Las Vegas. A lot of their events were in Vegas because there was a time where UFC was banned in a lot of states. Banned. Like, you couldn't even hold an event there. You couldn't even practice mixed martial arts in a lot of these states. But it's 2025. A lot of, states have opened up, and good, because I think a lot of people should at least try mixed martial arts or boxing or any form of combat sport or any form of self-defense. But yeah, it just shows how far we've come from that situation. So you had that going on. Yeah, illegal kicks. Yeah, it was all craziness and nonsense. And then, yeah, it looks like Kayla Harrison, her first title defense as champion, you're going up against another badass. Like I said earlier, probably the greatest women fighter of all time, and Amanda Nunes. I mean, this lady is unbelievable. I mean, dominant. I mean, she's vicious. She's skillful. She's finesse. She has a lot of finesse. She's amazing, right? She's been out of the game for over 2 years now, which is crazy, right? It just seemed like she retired not too long ago. But yeah, June of 2023, she retired. It's June 2025. So 2 years have passed. she's had a lot of time off. You know, she's focusing on family, probably recovering from injuries, right? But yeah, she's coming out of retirement. You know, they had a moment in the octagon. They had the face-off. And yeah, it looks like the UFC matchmakers are making that fight happen. And it's gonna be an interesting fight. Like Kayla Harrison, this is her big test. Can she beat the lioness herself, Amanda Nunes? Amanda Nunes has been out of the game for a couple of years. So a lot of questions being asked, a lot of storylines going to this fight, but that's going to be a very interesting fight, and it's good for the division because it seems like that division has been kind of I don't want to say boring because that's not right. That's inappropriate, but it's not exciting. Like, it's been kind of a standstill. You know, I think Kayla Harrison beating Julianna Pena was the best thing for that division, and I'm not knocking Julianna Pena. She's a great fighter, but you need new blood in there. Kayla Harrison's that new blood. Now you got to bring in the queen herself. Dominated that division for years. Amanda Nunes, here we go. Make this fight happen. And it's gonna happen. Like I said, they had that moment in the octagon after the fight. So that's going to be very interesting what happens from there. So yeah, like I said, talking about Amanda Nunes, she retired after beating Irene Aldana at UFC 289 back in June of 2023, guys. Like I said, 2 years she's been out of the game. But I mean, look at her resume for Amanda Nunes. She's beaten Valentina Shevchenko, one of the greatest of all time, twice. Not just once, twice. She's beaten Julianna Pena. She's beaten Chris Cyborg, Ronda Rousey, who a lot of people see as the trailblazer, the pioneer for women's mixed martial arts. Can't really disagree with that because she did make women's MMA popular. So she's beaten him. She's beaten her. And she dominated Ronda Rousey, if you guys saw that fight. Miesha Tate, she's beaten. So Amanda Nunes has a great resume as well. That's going to be a very interesting fight. I can't wait for it. But yeah, Kayla Harrison, new UFC bantamweight champion. Congrats to her. Her next fight against Amanda Nunes will be very, very entertaining. Hopefully it happens because you know how some of these fights are promoted. You know, lots of hype. And then they're either snooze fests or they just don't happen because, you know, fighter has to pull out, whatever. But, you know, that weight, I mentioned earlier, the weight cut for Kayla Harrison. Like I said, they got to create a new division. I mean, that poor lady, she didn't look good. I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't want to sound like a prick, but she did not look good in that weight cut. And she didn't, I mean, look how she bulked up. I mean, she's a big lady. She's a strong, fit lady. She can kick my ass, of course, right? But she's too big for the division. Too strong, too muscular. They got to create another division. Maybe they do. I don't know. But yeah, that weight cut was brutal. Hopefully, maybe, I mean, if they don't create a new division, hopefully she doesn't have any issues with the weight cut again in her next fight against Amanda Nunes, or supposed next fight against Amanda Nunes. Hopefully the weight cut's not an issue, but saw pictures, man. It didn't look good. So whatever. It is what it is. She made it through. She's a new champion. So that weight cut was worth it. So like I said, congrats, Kayla Harrison, once again becoming the UFC bantamweight champion. You got Amanda Nunes next. So good luck. That's going to be a very interesting fight. So you have that going on. And then, obviously, the rest of the main card, you have Kelvin Gastelum losing by unanimous decision against Joe Pyfer. He looked really good in that fight. Mario Batista ruining Patchy Mix's UFC debut. He looked dominant in that fight. That was the second fight on the main card. And to open up the main card, Kevin Holland. I mean, I said last time on the podcast, this guy's fighting like every 2 to 4 months. He's very active. That's why we love him. He's a fighter's fighter. We appreciate what he does. We appreciate his activity. You know, this is a brutal sport, so we appreciate it. You know, he opened up the main card. He submitted Vicente Luque. And Vicente Luque is no pushover. This guy he's a beast. This guy is a savage. And he submitted him round 2, a minute in the second round. Darce choke, it seemed like, again. So, yeah, like I said, 3 submission finishes, rather, on the main card. Kevin Holland opens up the main card with a submission. So, very good victory for him. He called out Colby Covington. That'll be a very interesting fight, if it does happen. Colby Covington, yeah, America's favorite son, right? He is. Oh, he's a great guy. He's a dreamer. I mean, we love that guy. No, yeah, he's a pain in the ass. But it's a character thing. WWE, whatever. But yeah, he called out Colby Covington, big name or big name. I don't know. I don't think he is, but whatever. But yeah, Kevin Holland, Colby Covington, possibly question mark. We'll see. But Kevin Holland, great way to start off the main card. Nice to see him back on the win column as well. But yeah, Anaconda choke, Darce choke, whatever you want to call it, submission win. So if you placed a bet, submission victory for Kevin Holland, you probably won some big money. So good for you if that happened. But yeah, Kevin Holland looks great. So that was UFC 316. You had a pretty good prelims as well, a couple knockout finishes. It was a good, like I said, good pay-per-view overall. UFC 316, 2 thumbs up, B+ grade from the Bryce himself. But now you got another fight night coming up this Saturday. You got Kamaru Usman. He hasn't fought in a couple years. He's going up against Joaquin Buckley. This Saturday, June 14th, 10 p.m. Main card starts, ESPN and ESPN Plus. So you don't have to pay $90 for a damn pay-per-view for this one. Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Usman, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's 38 years old, so age is definitely playing a factor. His knees are just banged up. I mean, it's sad. Because he was a great welterweight. I mean, he was a great welterweight champion. He dominated for years. Age catches up to you, man. Injuries catch up to you. And, they kind of go together, right? The older you get, those injuries hurt a lot more recovery time. You can't come back, 3-4 months later. Unless you're Kevin Holland. Seems like that guy's made of steel. But, obviously younger. But, yeah, 38 years old, 3-fight losing streak for Kamaru Usman. He needs this fight. He needs a win against Joaquin Buckley, who is a top prospect in the welterweight division. But I don't know if it's going to happen. But yeah, his last fight for Kamaru Usman, he lost to Khamzat Chimaev by majority decision. And he lost to Leon Edwards before that for the UFC welterweight championship by majority decision as well. So it's been close. He at least, he didn't get finished, right? He got knocked out by Leon Edwards in their first fight a couple years ago. Lost the welterweight title. He was winning that fight. And he got kicked in the side of the head, and it was over. But he got finished there. But the last, thus the 3-fight losing streak for Usman. But his last 2 fights, he's lost by majority decision. So, he makes the fights close at least. But he definitely needs this win against Joaquin Buckley. But yeah, before all this nonsense happened, all this craziness happened, this guy was on a 19-fight winning streak. This dude was a savage in the welterweight division. He fought in 8 straight title fights. 8 straight. That's how good he was. That's how dominant he was. Obviously, for the most part, he was the champion going into those title fights. But dude, that guy was crazy good. But hopefully we'll see what happens this Saturday night, 10 p.m., June 14th. Fight night, Joaquin Buckley, Kamaru Usman, ESPN Plus. Check it out. But he needs a win. He definitely needs a win against Joaquin Buckley. We got to talk about Joaquin Buckley a little bit here. He's on a 6-fight winning streak. His last fight was in last December, 2024. He beat Colby Covington. He beat the crap out of this guy. TKO, doctor stoppage. It was a big gash cut. I remember watching it. Colby Covington couldn't continue. Probably good because Joaquin Buckley was piecing him up, man. He was beating the crap out of him. And he got the victory. So Joaquin Buckley, lots of motivation. He beats Kamaru Usman. That's another name on the resume. 6-fight winning streak. Obviously he's looking for a title fight soon. And, he's a big guy. Like, he makes welterweight, which is 170 pounds in the UFC. But, dude, he's definitely walking around damn near 200 pounds. This guy is a beast. He is an absolute beast. So he comes in 21-6 record. Kamaru Usman 20-4 record with a 3-fight losing streak on the line. 6-fight winning streak for Joaquin Buckley. Who's going to win? I got to go with the young buck. And I know that's crazy because I've picked Usman to win fights on this podcast many times, but the age plays a factor. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. his knees are done. And like I said, once you have those injuries, once you get knocked out too many times, that chin goes away. And Joaquin Buckley, he's the bigger, brighter, better, in my opinion, fighter. BBB, I like to call it, bigger, better, brighter. He's younger. I think he's hungrier, but I don't know. Kamaru Usman's, from years past, he's still a savage. And for him to come out and fight a young buck and Joaquin Buckley, I appreciate that coming from Kamaru Usman. But I got to go with Joaquin Buckley in this one. That 6-fight win streak becomes a 7-fight win streak for Joaquin Buckley after Saturday night. So check that one out. UFC Fight Night, Usman, Buckley, 10 p.m., ESPN, ESPN Plus. That's when the main card starts. You got Rose Namajunas in the co-main event. Haven't heard her name in a while, so that's good to see there. And then, yeah, a lot of other good fights or decent fights for that fight night. And then the following weekend, next Saturday, you got Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree Jr., two light heavyweights going at it in the main event. So you have that going on. Curtis Blades is on this card. Rafael Fiziev, who just got done losing to Justin Gaethje not too long ago. He's on this card in the co-main event. But then at the end of the month, end of June, Saturday, June 28th, I do believe this is an International Fight Week, if I'm not mistaken. You got the lightweight title on the line. It's vacant. Islam Makhachev, whatever. Yeah, I think it's Makhachev. Islam Makhachev gave up the title because he's moving up to welterweight. So it's a vacant lightweight title on the line. You got Ilia Topuria, 16-0. He's undefeated. He's going up against one of the greatest lightweights of all time, Charles Oliveira. That'll be a very interesting fight in the main event. I'll give you my picks when we get closer to that event, but that's the end of the month there. Co-main event, you got another title fight on the line. Alexandre Pantoja, the flyweight champion, defending the title against Kai Kara France. That's going to be a very interesting fight as well. Benel Dariush is on this card. He's going up against Renato Moicano. He has to bounce back. He lost his last fight. So we'll see what happens with that. And Brandon Royval in the flyweight division, he's going up against Manel Kape, who's very good, 21-7 record. So you have that. Paulo Costa is on this fight. So a lot of big names on this fight. Tracy Cortez. So, yeah, that'll be a very interesting fight. But that's at the end of the month, Saturday, not January, Jesus. Yeah, summertime, Jack. Saturday, June 28th, UFC 317. And then obviously, a month after that, you got Dustin Poirier's last fight against Max Holloway. The third time these guys are going at it. So we'll see what happens with that. But UFC, they got a great start with UFC 316 this past Saturday night. You got a lot of good fights. Like I said, month of June, the Bride is going to be watching all these fights. I'm going to be busy Saturday, so don't bug me. I'm going to watch these fights, and yeah, you got a lot of good names, a lot of big fights, a lot of big names on these cards. UFC knows what they're doing. Summertime, baby. UFC, let's go. Let's crank these fights out. So that's the UFC. I want to end today's episode today talking about New Way Training Center. I mean, you guys, like I said, you've been following the show for a while now. I've been mentioning them for over a year now because, I've been with them for almost 2 years. Just training boxing. Obviously you guys remember I was supposed to fight or compete rather in the Golden Gloves last year. It didn't happen. But yeah, never say never on that. I think there's been quite a few people who say, yeah, you should compete, man. I feel great. 196 pounds. I wish they had a division where it was 190 because I could make that, but how it's set up for amateurs in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, you go from 176 to 203. And I think there needs to be a division in between that, like 180, 190, maybe. Or probably closer to 190. Like, let's make that work. Maybe I'll compete, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, New Way Training Center, right here in Clinton Township, Michigan. Everyone knows, people in Michigan know. Not everyone knows, but people in Michigan know. A great place. But yeah, Savantini last Tuesday, June 3rd, looked absolutely dominant in her victory against her opponent, Simone da Silva, who is a veteran. I mean, she fought Amanda Serrano, obviously world champion, one of the greatest women's boxers of all time. So her resume was huge, over 50 fights. But Savantini looked absolutely phenomenal. So congrats to her once again. Can't say enough. 5-0 on her pro boxing career. She's going places. I just want to say, congrats again. You deserve it. I can't wait for your next fight. But make sure your next fight is in Michigan. I would love to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Never been there. But like during the week on a Tuesday, I mean, come on now. It's Friday night, Saturday night here in Michigan. Let's make it happen. Talk to your manager. Talk to the promotion, whoever. We got to get Savantini's next fight here in the state of Michigan. So, yeah, good luck with that. But, no, just good luck again. Or, congrats again, rather. 5-0 on your pro boxing career. She looked phenomenal. Probably her best fight I've seen her compete in. She'll probably say the same. I'll have to get an interview with her soon. I've been wanting to do that. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Savantini, you are phenomenal. So you have that. And then Kamel Macklin. I've been looking at his social media handles, his accounts, his pages, Instagram, Facebook. No fight news yet. No fight announcement. I'm sure he's going to make one soon. And then when that happens, obviously you guys will be the first ones to know. I have a good idea where his next fight's going to be, but I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to leave it at that. And my microphone went out. Hold on. Oh, man. Sound like an alien. Go, go, go. There you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, my microphone turned on me. WWE terms. But anyways, Kamel Macklin, next fight soon. Hopefully sometime this summer. But that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, Kamel Macklin, if you don't know who this guy is, you're missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out. This guy's amazing, great fighter. His fights are very entertaining. I mean, he's amazing. So be on the lookout for that. And it should be a good time. It should be a good one. So with that being said, we're done today. Guys time. So thank you for joining me as always. I got my Detroit Tigers jersey on. Tarek Skubal, the best in the business. I'll have probably more jerseys on as we go. I gotta wear my Lions shirt that I wore this weekend. You guys will appreciate it. But yeah, the Tigers are doing great. UFC 316 was phenomenal. Sorry about that. Got the NBA Finals as well. Game 2 last night. Oklahoma City Thunder, they won. They were able to win the game against the Pacers. So that series is tied 1 apiece. Next game is Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday, Game 3 in Indiana. So that'll be a very interesting matchup there. But yeah, both teams looking for their first title in their franchise's history. So you had that going on. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs. Game 3 on tonight in Florida between the Panthers and the Oilers. That series is tied 1 apiece. So that's been very entertaining so far. Games 1 and 2, both going to overtime. First time we've seen that since 2014. And like I mentioned earlier, I was a senior in high school, and the number 1 hit song was "Happy" by Pharrell Williams. And like I said, that was the soundtrack of my senior year because they played it every single damn day on the radio. But yeah, you had that going on, and yeah, it was a nice weekend here in Michigan. So yeah, new episode right now. You guys already know the drill. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you want to see my beautiful face, my big ass head. If you want to listen to my beautiful voice, that'll be the audio version. So that's Spotify on Apple Podcasts. If you want to listen to that. But yeah, if you want to see my beautiful face, my YouTube channel at Guys Time of the Bride, subscribe there. I'll get this episode out as soon as possible today, and we will continue the roll here on the podcast. So thank you for joining me again. You guys are great. You guys stay safe out there. Enjoy the week, and have a good one. All right, peace out, guys. You have a good day.